I was just trying to log into Elder Scrolls Online earlier this morning, and there was something going on which was preventing me from doing so. Some sort of a server issue, technical issue. In any case, once in a while, if you play live service games, you'll find you can't get in, or you get booted out and you don't have the ability to access the game which you want to play. Now, the benefit is you can participate in the game with other players, maybe. There's a lot of different things that all add into why live service is a really fun and amazing experience. And yet, there's this ongoing concern about being able to be the sole custodian of your own data. And I think that that's going to be an ongoing concern as time passes, where there's more and more opportunities to benefit from things like maybe, for example, GeForce Now. It's a way you could experience a high-end PC without actually owning one. That sounds really good. But what happens when everyone is just using some sort of a light, thin client, and nobody really actually has any computers in their living room anymore, and you are just paying $20 a month for a subscription to a computer, basically? What happens when we all are using something like OneDrive to save our files, and we do have access to those files absolutely anywhere, which is amazing, until you realize that you can lose access because your subscription ended, or for some reason you aren't able to log on to the service. What happens when the power goes out, when there's some sort of a network issue? Now suddenly you can't get into your files. You can't play your games. You can't just log onto your computer and do your normal things because your work files are on the cloud. Your games are in your Steam account. So the 2 hours of having your internet turned off for some reason is now a really significant frustration and inconvenience, whereas there was a time when we didn't necessarily need to be connected to the internet for every single thing we were doing. Not to mention the fact that there's issues with privacy. Now, let's just say, for example, that you save your files on a cloud storage service, and we all look through privacy agreements and terms of service all the time, but it's usually such a long agreement we don't actually really read them. We just sort of scroll to the bottom and click accept. Normally that's fine, but what happens if, for some reason, due to some kind of a political thing or something, your personal files get scanned, screened, analyzed by a agent of some type, maybe an AI agent even, and then you're potentially in trouble, or you lose access to your files because you said something or did something or had a file which was outside of the terms of service of whatever provider you were using. Now, is that likely to happen? Probably not. But I always think about how there's things that are offered in good faith on the front side, which can wind up being abused in the wrong circumstances. Like, for example, maybe there's something in place to protect children on the internet, which is a good thing, right? But then what happens when that's used for some other purpose? The more power and control you cede to someone else and then trust that they're going to do the right thing, the more likely you are to wind up in trouble when you just aren't really in control of your data anymore completely and fully, as you would be if all of your files are stored on your hard drive. I had Microsoft OneDrive for a very long time, still do, but most of my files are currently saved just on a external hard drive. And as time's passed, I've thought, I'll probably go back through and start uploading my files back onto OneDrive, just because I really do like the convenience of being able to access them anywhere. I do like knowing that there's security. If I had a failed hard drive or something like that, I'm not going to lose a lifetime of memories and pictures and saved work and stuff like that. But at the same time, one thing I realized when I did cancel my OneDrive subscription some time ago for a period of time, it was really inconvenient to get all of those files off of the cloud, save them, and migrate them to a legacy hard drive, because the way it is, you're always kind of channeled toward uploading your content into the cloud in the name of convenience. But then they kind of get you that way too, because then you're paying $10 or $15 a month for a cloud service, and you're not going to want to stop paying for it because your files are all there. So, do you really want to go through the hassle of downloading all of your files? Do you want to stop paying for the service and then risk having an issue not being able to store your files conveniently and effectively? So I think there's kind of a trap in there. The more cloud services we have that are conveniently offered, the more we wind up losing that ability to be a custodian of our data. We potentially lose the ability to have true privacy, and that can be a concern. And then, of course, in the case of software, I think back to the times when we used to have discs that we'd install our games with and stuff. And, I do kind of miss that time. I miss that time because software tended to be released in a more complete way, because there wasn't going to be a whole lot of patches and updates all the time. It was going to be a thing where you'd buy the discs, you'd install them, and then that was going to be the game. And getting new patches and things would be a very rare sort of a thing, if it happened at all. And now we have games that get released in early access. We have things that are kind of half-baked, and then they get patched along the way. And that can be a really good thing, because it allows, final release to not be the end of the road. There's more things that can be done to fix bugs and address things in a live service way. But then the downside is, do you always have access to the products that you buy? Think about how if I bought a bunch of discs and I installed a bunch of software on a old-fashioned computer, I could very easily leave the discs, leave the computer, and I could pass away, and my kids could enjoy all of that software and the computer. The device would be theirs. There'd be no need to have a password on it. They could just turn it on and enjoy the full suite of software that was available there. Whereas now, let's say I have 100 or 500 games or whatever in my Steam library. What happens if I died? Could I pass that library on to someone? Well, maybe technically it would be possible for me to, add a secondary user and then give somebody else my password, and, they could potentially have access in my stead. But if you really look at the rules, technically that's not allowed. Technically, there is no option to pass on your account from one person to another. There isn't any way to actually facilitate that in a completely authorized way. So you wind up spending a bunch of money to potentially get a temporary access to a product, and it can be very convenient. But again, it feels like there's something kind of missing there. I enjoy watching YouTube videos and listening to YouTube music and things like that. And I find I don't really ever have a need to go get a DVD or buy a music CD because I can just play whatever I want in an app. And I do enjoy that. But then I also miss going to a store and getting the CDs and checking to see what tracks are on there. And then just knowing I own all of those MP3s and I can put them into a folder and do whatever I want with them. You know, so I guess the bottom line is, as time goes on, we get more convenience, but we also lose a certain degree of autonomy. We lose some of the things that make life feel real in favor of things that make life more easy. And that's not limited just to something like always online connected gaming or something like that. It's also things like how our relationships start to be a little bit more superficial, because we have things like Instagram and Facebook, and those things can create the illusion of being, providing connection. But then the reality is they don't really provide true deep connection. They provide something that just is more of an illusion. Makes you feel less alone, but it doesn't really actually create a sense of true, well-rounded fulfillment. So what do we do? I don't know. I guess I'm not really saying we should do anything. It's just something to be aware of. You know, the world is changing, and we have to kind of enjoy the world we have, but then be aware of the fact that not every single blessing comes without drawbacks. Sometimes there's things that are good, but they also come with a negative side effect, and you have to be aware of that side effect so that you can maybe find ways to keep some of the old ways alive. In a world of progress, don't completely give up on tradition. I've thought it might be kind of fun to build a Linux computer sometime and design it to be completely offline. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? You know, a modern computer, modern hardware, but designed to be completely offline. I thought that would be a pretty cool hobby project to have. You know, I was thinking about gonna go be on the road again for another 3 or 4 days this week, and so I was thinking, you know, I'll bring my laptop along, so if I'm in a hotel room I can play some games and stuff on it. But then the laptop isn't as powerful as my gaming PCs at home, so there's certain games I just wouldn't play on the laptop. And then I was thinking, I like to play city building games, so maybe I'll play Theotown on my laptop while I'm out on the road. And Theotown is a simple city building game. But then I realized that Theotown does not have cloud saves, so if I were to play a save on one computer and then load up the game on my laptop, it wouldn't be completely easy to pick up where I left off. I thought that's kind of inconvenient, you know. Isn't that interesting though? Like, there was a time when we would never think about it being an inconvenience that you don't have Steam cloud saves integrated into a game. Like, it just went without saying. You would you'd put your saves on a floppy disk or something, you know, and that's what it was. There was no automatic saving to the cloud. Now, in most games, you don't need to really even save at all. Just load up the game on any computer you're at, and it'll just pick up right where you left off. No need to worry about it, because it's all cross-platform saves. Kind of one of those amazing things we now just sort of take for granted. Anyways, that's about that. It's an age of miracles until the lights go out and we have to go back to our old ways. So maybe enjoy that always online sense of connection, but it's not the end of the world to have a few things backed up on a physical hard drive too. And maybe it's not the end of the world to take a save and actually manually back it up. We always enjoyed playing games back before Steam and before everything had a account associated with it. Maybe it's because in the past we had more of a sense of connection outside of technology, and now we rely on technology to create the illusion of connection more. So we feel like we have to always be online, because if we're not always online, then we're kind of, I guess, disconnected from the hive mind, you know? It's kind of like we've all become Borg agents, and we have to stay connected to the mothership, right? Otherwise, we don't know what we're doing anymore. All in all, it's a weird time to live in, though, isn't it? Well, I guess I will leave it there. In any case, hopefully stay happy, and in all things, good luck on your adventure, wherever it takes you. Always. Thanks for watching.